Adolescence is the biggest show on Netflix right now. I wasn't expecting it to blow up as much as it did, but in case you're unfamiliar, this is a British crime drama, a psychological thriller, perhaps, and it's being praised for the cinematography, but also for its themes of combating toxic masculinity in
I
young men and boys.
it's already just so exhausting.
So, to summarize, the protagonist in the show is the 13-year-old boy, Jamie, arrested for stabbing his female classmate to death. And they conduct an investigation. His parents discover that he is guilty, and they wonder what could have possibly went wrong in this child's psyche that convinced him to commit such a heinous act of violence. And what they find out by interrogating him and looking into his personal life is that he was radicalized by the online red pill manosphere
That's not
content.
even what happens, if I understand correctly. I didn't watch the show, but he was actually bullied by the girl that stabbed him.
Well, but the reason that he ended up lashing out in response is blamed on the manosphere and figures like Andrew Tate. And
I hate everything about this.
Those are name checked in the show. This is now speaking to what the UK considers an epidemic among their young schoolboys. And, you know, it's funny because the showrunners have talked extensively about what inspired the show, and it's because of the knife crime epidemic in their country, which I would say is very clearly caused by migrant crime, not by a bunch of young, like, we're talking like 12, 13-year-old white boys committing crimes. It's mainly migrant crime.
The UK government is on par with the most lying governments in all of history. It's right up there. It's right up there. It's getting to the level of
They're
North
insane.
Korea level lies, where they just sit like just BS, like openly lie about things that everybody knows they're lying about. It's appalling when you hear it from, at least from the outside.
Well, I can tell that this is kind of causing a cultural shift in the UK specifically that we're not really privy to because we live in such a big, populated, diverse country. We don't have one TV show that like everyone's watching right now.
Yeah.
But in the UK, this is making a huge impact, and they are making actual decisions on policy and education in their government based on the popularity of this show. Now, schools in the UK are planning to give boys anti-misogyny lessons
That'll
to
work.
stop toxic masculinity in the wake of Adolescence and its success. They're set to give anti-misogyny lessons to teen boys. They're part of the government's new relationships, health, and sex education guidance, which will be introduced before the end of this academic year. This comes after a statement from Keir Starmer, their prime minister. He said, "As a father, watching Adolescence with my teenage son and daughter hit home hard. We all need to be having these conversations more. I've backed Netflix's plan to show the series for free in schools across the country so as many young people as possible can see it."
It's actually not just that, too. It says Labour government to set up adolescence hubs to screen fictional Netflix TV show so that people can see it without a subscription. Have you ever known a TV show to get so much promotion by a government?
The announcement follows a roundtable discussion held by Keir Starmer alongside representatives from charities such as Tender, the NSPCC, the Children's Society, and the Adolescence co-creators. They have advocated for the show to be shown in schools. Keir Starmer says it's an important initiative to encourage as many pupils as possible to watch the show. As I see from my own children, openly talking about changes in how they communicate, the content they're seeing, and exploring conversations they're having with their peers is vital if we're to properly support them in navigating contemporary challenges and deal with malign influences. Like, I suppose, the Tates or Luc Belmar or Dan Bilzerian, or you could go down the list.
So it's not just the
Bilzerian.
anti-misogyny stuff. The topic of knife crime is a really, really big deal. We were talking before the show about the fact that Idris Elba is emerging as the top choice to replace Khan as London's mayor after his knife crime campaign, which he takes very seriously and has made documentaries about. So these are issues that it's just so weird to me to see a private corporation, a private company like Netflix get this much. The government, like taxpayers, are paying for this. Like you, the UK. I don't know if we have anybody here watching from the UK.
I'm sure we do.
But you're paying for this with your tax dollars, and it's all based around a concept that's not really lined up with reality. Like there was a lot of really great tweets that were able to kind of distill this down into more like you were talking about the fact that they're focusing on misogyny and knife crime when it's really, for a lot of people, they classify it as an immigration issue, but they're talking more about the absurdity of this as a whole. This is from somebody called The Little Platoon, said this entire thing has become a satanic panic for middle class white liberals. The problems it identifies does not exist. The director has not named a single comparable case to the one he depicts. Young white boys are not an Andrew Tate video away from stabbing women. But if you want to push more young men towards Andrew Tate in the manosphere, adding yet another compulsory layer to society's white boys are devil mass psychosis, this is a good way to go about it.
They're doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
They're doing all the wrong things.
The incel in Adolescence is 13. Labeling a 13-year-old an incel implies sex is a reasonable expectation at that age. Involuntary celibacy frames celibacy as a failure, projecting an adult framework onto children.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is very, very good way of like kind of pointing out the absurdity of this. You know what I miss?
Isn't Lily Phillips from the UK? Like
Yes,
both of
so
those
is
two
Bonnie Blue.
chicks that are doing like.
Or is
that.
Bonnie Blue Australian?
No, both Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue are British.
It was Annie Knight.
You
that
got
was,
problems.
You know what I miss? Hollywood. You used to be able to make movies with evil kids, but the point was that they were just evil.
They were just monsters.
They weren't evil because mommy and daddy didn't love them. They weren't evil because they were picked on by other people at school. Children, like, they're just evil. That is going to be
unless it's Carrie. Carrie would be the exception.
Well, yes. But the thing is, then they went on to make stuff about that ends up being commentary on, they made tons of shows and episodes of shows about school shootings and stuff like that, which analyze the idea of bullying. But the money is if you just make evil kids, that's better and is going to get you a lot less pushback. But they don't want that. And to Netflix's credit, say what you will, this show is unbelievably popular. It is the most popular thing on their network right now. But that's a lot. It might have something to do with the subject matter, but it's also it's a marvel of technical proficiency with certain episodes. So it's got a lot to do with that.
Yeah, they're being praised because of the way this is filmed in at least what seems to be one continuous shot per episode. Yeah. And I did watch one clip where this therapist is interrogating the 13-year-old protagonist, and she's asking him very personal questions about sex. And she's asking him, like, how far have you gone with a girl? Have you had a girlfriend? Like, what did you do with her? What would you do with her? Where would you touch her? Like, very, like, intense questions that you would show in a TV show with a child, but also that the child actor is required to learn for his role. And they're portraying this as, like, part of the investigation into the crime.
The thing is like knife crime being as prevalent. Look, they just banned ninja swords. Remember? Ninja sword. I don't know the difference between a ninja sword and another type of sword, but they just, they're banning the swords and they're in their own panic the way that, Hollywood does with guns.
So, yeah, there are many dimensions to this. It's propaganda about knife crime. It is racially scapegoating white British people and specifically white men in Britain. It is drawing attention to this hot button issue of the manosphere and, toxic masculinity and stuff like that. And it also is sexualizing children. That's undeniable. There's countless reasons why this is such an insult to our intelligence, and unfortunately so many people are falling for it. I saw this one headline from a mom in the UK who says, "When I finished watching Adolescence, I raced to my 10-year-old son's room and asked him these 3 questions." And I went and looked into this essay that she wrote. She says, here were the 3 questions. What do you think about the girls at school? That's the first one. What does being a boy feel like for you? And what do you think a good man does?
Like, those are too existential of a question to ask a 10-year-old.
Those are not questions that you ask a 10-year-old. Those are actually questions that you provide answers for before anything else. So, then she goes on to say, "I'll respect his privacy with his answers, but it's opened up a new, important, and honest conversation that's ongoing.
Where is his father to answer these questions?"
Right, exactly. I don't see a mention of his father here. And then, if he doesn't have a present father, how would he know what a good man is or does? And how would he know what it means to be a boy or what masculinity is? And if you're his entire parental model, how would he know how to interact with the girls at school and what's appropriate and what's not? So they're expecting essentially Netflix to do all the work.
I mean, that checks out. With
and this is not
day.
The content of this show is not appropriate for children. No. So the fact that they're screening it for children is quite disturbing as well.
I mean, what's worse is it's not even so much. It is, but I don't even worry as much about the kids watching it and taking something from it. I think it's more worrying that the parents will watch it and get the wrong lessons from something like this.
Well, they're telling the parents the wrong lessons. Like, it's not just that they might pick up the wrong things. It's intended to tell parents the wrong things. Like I said, I didn't watch this myself, but I listened to someone's synopsis, and the way that they're talking about it, the boy was bullied by the girl that he stabbed.
A fictional story now is getting funded by the government and driving policy. That's insane.
Right. Well, what COVID demonstrated is that you can take any sort of moral panic, and if you frame it as a public health crisis, then it becomes the domain of the government, and they can do whatever they want to fix it. Thank you.
Mary's favorite song is back. I'm sure this was the part she missed the most while she was gone.
I'm already back in better spirits. And more clownery in Britbong, by the way. They're considering Idris Elba to be the next mayor of London.
I mean, we elect celebrities as politicians here. It's not... Though there's probably
the direction he's taking his career.
There is fantastic mimetic potential in like taking the funniest scenes of him being like overly loud and violent in Luther and turning it into content. It would be hilarious because he's an amazing actor. Like taking the scenes where he's yelling and punching walls and in Luther, and then like when the vote doesn't go your way.
Look, they're such an unserious country that I don't even care what they do with their government at this point. They're already effed, so.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.